Mamdani picks his mentor, the woke radical anti-Israel YouTuber Miss Rachel. This rules. I really appreciate the fact that, because again, all Zionists can do is browbeat. Zionists are like a unique subgroup of conservatives where the conservatives are capable, at least like selectively, of being funny or culturally innovative. Like sometimes you'll see them catch like a new talking point. They'll make something up. Zionists are utterly uncreative. They can't really produce anything. So all they do is they beat you with the stick. Beat, 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 beat. Everything you do is anti-Semitic. I really appreciate that they've turned so much attention against Miss Rachel. Do you have any idea how psychotic you have to come across to like the general public deciding this is the hill you're going to die on? Insane. But they've really committed to it. I don't know why. The thing that confuses me about Zionists is that they don't abandon a strategy when it's clear that it's not working. Like, every single time Americans are polled in their support for Israel, it's going down. What they're doing is not working. Not even a little bit. But they still do it. Like, they don't adjust tactics at all. Very Trumpian of them. Yeah, but the Trump stuff worked for a while. There were periods of time where Trump's rhetoric worked. Thinking about Dershowitz and the pierogi stand. Yeah, no, it's like a one-trick pony, except it's been 20 years. They don't stop. I don't understand. The line does not concern itself with public sentiment. Turning the big red dial, labeled browbeating, but not looking back to the audience to see how they're reacting to it. Everyone's gotten up and left. I've seen people become more anti-Semitic when the Miss Rachel thing happened. Yeah, well, all the contemporary wave of anti-Semitism, which is only going to get worse over time, is entirely, and when I say entirely here, I don't want to oversimplify, 99% at the feet of Zionists. You know? Like, they took what was otherwise a marginal internet conspiracy that had some traction, but we're talking like flat earth, QAnon stuff largely derided, degraded. They turned it into a household talking point. They turned it into something young people earnestly discuss with one another. And they did it by doing every fucking thing you could possibly do to incite anti-Semitism. What is this? Woke, radical, anti-Israel YouTuber Miss Rachel? Miss Rachel being one of the anti-Semites of the year? Yep. Nothing makes the JQ look less real than every single vestige of legacy media rearing up to express a deranged level of contempt for the nicest people in the world merely for being critical of Israel's military policy. You know? If you don't know, she's like a kids YouTuber. She does like kids rhyming. She's like a, you know, like Mr. Rogers. Like Miss Rachel, Mr. Roger, you get it. I know who she is. That's great. Not everyone watching does. Develop a theory of mind, you infant. I know who she is. Do you think I care whether you know? I already know this. This information isn't new to me. I have no idea who she is. Well, you're probably not a 2-year-old. 18.3 million subscribers. God damn. Just a few more than me. Throughout the mayor-elect's campaign, much attention has been paid to Mamdani's anti-Jewish sentiment, from his refusal to condemn such phrases as globalize the Intifada to his affiliation with known supporters of terrorism like Imam Siraj Wahash, whom federal prosecutors named an unindicted co-conspirator in the 1993 World Trade Center bombing. These decisions speak volumes about Mamdani's moral character, but his selection of Miss Rachel is more troubling still. It shows not only Jews, but New Yorkers of all persuasions that their new mayor's inner circle is populated, not by seasoned and serious adults passionate about governing, but by influencers best known for their rendition of Wheels on the Bus. Wonderful stuff. Who's reading this shit? I don't know. The comments are probably full of people making fun of, Actually, these comments seem unrelated. Probably bots. Probably bots. It's the New York Post. Do they think New York is just, excuse me, Jews or something? The thing that confounds me is that I thought for the longest time that these Zionist attacks were a cynical way for corporate Democrats and conservatives to attack progressives using IDPOL as like a shield, right? But the fact that they've continued to use this rhetoric even as it doesn't work over and over and over and over and over again makes me worry that a lot of these people are actually like Kool-Aid drinkers. Like they actually believe it. Like they actually are that crazy. They are that deranged. Which is horrifying. Not all of them, of course, but a lot of them. Ugh. What a cursed family. Nothing bad ever happens to the Kennedys. At least she lived just long enough to see every single artist who was scheduled to perform at the Kennedy Center cancel because it got renamed to the Trump and Kennedy Center. That's good, at least. The Cookers, a jazz supergroup that has performed together for nearly 2 decades, announced their withdrawal from a jazz New Year's Eve on their website, saying the decision has come together very quickly. Doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. Yeah. The Cookers didn't mention the buildings renaming. Pussies! Massive pussies. Come on, man. Trump's already expended his political capital. It's not like they're going to get... It's not like they still have the ability to cancel people, you know? What a way to see your lineage be destroyed. They'll rename it back to the Kennedy Center after Trump's gone. Well, maybe they won't. We'll see how dickless the Democrats end up being. Certainly they should. Certainly eventually. Yeah. Feels like we've been in this presidency for fucking 10 years. I think it's mostly because Biden's presidency didn't really do anything. So it just sort of feels like we're on year 10 of Trump. Biden did a lot like cover for genocide. Yeah, well, you know, nothing Trump wouldn't do too. I miss Genocide Joe, not gonna lie. You prefer him to Genocide Don? What Biden didn't understand is that criticism is easier to deal with if it's thinly spread, you know? It's like with Trump, as long as you're getting attacked over everything, you're fine. With Biden, the Gaza stuff was really distractive. Bad move. Bad move. At least Biden wasn't doing Putin's bidding. You know what? I would argue that playing cover for Israel denigrated our position in the world order and international law in general in a way that pretty much served Russia's interests. Like, how can you get mad at Russia for invading Ukraine and then be like, nah, what Israel's doing is fine? How do you square that, you know? Not to mention Biden kept trying to keep Ukraine from striking refineries and such inside of Russia, which ended up being by far the most effective way for them to operate. Russia's taken advantage of a lot of it in its rhetoric. Makes sense. Makes sense. I believe it. Biden wasn't trying to ethnically cleanse America, at least. No, just Palestine. I mean, you know, I'm just saying. Is Zelensky pro-Palestine? Nah. But he kind of doesn't really have a choice because we all know that if Zelensky ever criticized Israel, America would immediately stop giving him money. So, I don't know. It's kind of hard to say what he actually believes. Would this have happened if Mitt Romney had won in 2008? Well, Mitt Romney's probably also a huge Zionist, so, you know. What's interesting is that the Russian opposition is insanely Zionist, despite being pro-Ukraine. What do you mean, the Russian opposition? Look, for a lot of people, this is team sports. If you're pro-Russia, you're anti-Israel, not because you don't like genocide, but because Israel is West-coded. And if you like Israel, you tend to be anti-Russia. Like, it's team sports. Because Israel's aligned with the West. Netanyahu gets along with Putin just fine. Pro-Russia, pro-Israel, very funny. Yes, the maximally Hitlerite position. A lot of Republicans believe in that, you know? Israel's like 15% Russian-born residents, over and like 30% of their kids still speak Russian. Well, yeah, there are a lot of Russian Jews, you know? A lot of Jews fled east during World War II. Not that they were treated great by Stalin, but, you know. Also, Russia and Israel are both Hitlerite, so of course they'd get along. Judge blocks White House's attempt to defund the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, ensuring employees get paid. Don't really care. They've been losing, like, literally every single court battle. If you keep up with them, like, every day, new news floods in, right? Every court battle, every single time a judge looks at anything. Look at what's on the front page of AP right now. DOJ pushed to prosecute Kilmar Abrego Garcia only after mistaken deportation, judge's orders say. This is whiplashing around after like 57 attempts to deport Kilmar Abrego Garcia. They send him down to CIGAT, they bring him back up, you know, they say nothing's happening to him, then they start prosecuting him as soon as he comes back to the States. He will never be in the United States again. Then he is in the United States, then they're going to send him to a different country, blah, 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 over and over and over and over again. And now they're finally, you know, federal courts seemingly are giving him ammunition to turn back on the DOJ. A newly unsealed order in the criminal case against Kilmar Garcia reveals that high-level Justice Department officials pushed for his indictment, calling it a top priority only after he was mistakenly deported and then ordered returned to the U.S. So obviously they only did it as a way of compensating for the embarrassment of having to bring him back from CCOT and not because they had an ongoing investigation against him, right? I mean, we knew that, of course, but it was nice of them to leave it in writing. U.S. District Judge Waverly Crenshaw. You can't just call them Crenshaw, okay? That's confusing. Total bullshit. What? Oh. Open my fucking Valheim server for a second. I stopped paying for that like a year ago. You got a Valheim server? Not anymore. I did. Valheim fell off. You know what's fucked up? The more you explore a server in multiplayer, the way it works is that when a player loads an area by walking into it, all of the data for that area is hosted locally on their fucking connection. Which means that if you're playing with 2 or 3 other people and they have slower computers, you lag the entire fucking server. It's insane. Like, what's the point in purchasing a private server if you're still going to have the connection speed dependent on the quality of the computers of the people running around? Why the fuck is that hosted locally? Had to stop playing just because of the lag. Me when P2P. Me when P2P in like a fucking open world survival crafting game. Honestly. Huh? I played in a popular 40-plus person server. It was always smooth as fuck. I wonder if there's a way to preload everything in the server so that if it's P2P, you're basically getting all your info from like the dedicated server as opposed to it being hosted locally. I don't really know. I'm not a net coding kind of guy, or in fact, a tech kind of guy. You know, I don't know anything about anything, to be honest. I don't know why you people listen to me. Could be the way they set it up. I believe they own their own hardware. I'm not a guy kind of guy. That's true. There's more money flowing through family offices than Wall Street, Vaush? I don't believe that's true. If you take the total evaluation of everything on Wall Street, all of the money held in stocks, I'm pretty sure that vastly exceeds the total money supply that has velocity, that is moving through like family business or whatever. And we've done the math on this before if you take a look at the different money supplies, but like a lot of the money is just not getting used in the day-to-day economy. Wall Street's worth 59 trillion. It's fucking crazy how all of that is just bullshit. Is Wall Street money even real money though? Yes, that's the fucked up thing. It is. It should be swimming around with us, and instead it's all sitting in a bubble. It's fucked up. Oh, I'm sorry. By family office, you didn't mean like family-owned businesses. You meant wealthy families launching their own investment firms? Okay, that's not... I don't know if that necessarily speaks to my point about the financialization of the economy. This is also financialization of the economy. Good old family private equity, yeah. I don't have a Wall Street Journal account. $13.75 a week, honestly. Ugh. This is my least favorite topic. Talk about pedophiles or something. But pedophilia is created by financialization. Kind of, a little bit, okay? There are 2 kinds of pedophilia, all right? There's Appalachian pedophilia, which is your fat, alcoholic, abusive dad type of pedophilia, right? And then there's aristocracy pedophilia, and that goes back forever, you know. You have like the French aristocracy, you have the pharaohs, whatever. That's when you have a small upper crust of society, elites who are maniacal sociopaths, and they feel the only way to express their infinite power is to engage in every, a cornucopia of sin, which of course includes your little St. James, your Epstein Island bullshit. Okay, financialization. This shit is like a pedophilia factory. Okay. They're churning this out, like they're printing it like the Fed prints money. We need to shut it down. Yeah, the 2 schools of pedophilia, like ancient karate dojos. Long have they been at war? Speaking of, was it Bezos who had a birthday party the other day? Yes. No, it wasn't birthday. It was New Year's celebration. I'm telling you, man, it's a pedophilia printer. Oh, it's somebody's birthday. Is this pedophilia? Well, to quote somebody else on Twitter, being the second wealthiest man in the world and still partying like a, used car salesman who just closed a merger with a, neighboring firm. Jesus Christ, look at this. Is he even having fun? That's the crazy thing. It looks lame as fuck. I have a feeling that these wealthy elites engage in a lot of performatively opulent behavior. Do you think they're not even into the pedophilia? Like they're at Epstein's Island and they're in the corner and they're thinking like, man, my feet hurt. The music's too loud. I could be at home playing video games. And then Jeffrey Epstein walks up and he's like, come on, we got a girl for you in the back. And you're like, ugh, I don't want to be uncool. Probably like 50% of them. Not that it's going to save them from the fires of hell. You all know Israel's pedophilic? We all know that, right? There were op-eds coming out on that before October 7th even. American sex offenders or people with dual citizenship, going over there. What is the age of consent there? It's not about the age of consent there. It's the fact that if you're a Jew, it's really easy to get dual citizenship, so it's an easy country to fly to. And also the government there will protect you from extradition. Also, like, American law enforcement doesn't want to go after or demand extradition from Israeli nationals because of the whole U.S.-Israel relationship thing, where we pretend that we're cucked by them 24/7. Be careful, please. About what? The claim that Israel is innately pedophilic? That's just hard science, my friend. I don't know what to say. How do you feel about Gabe Newell's yacht costing like $200 million? I'm not gonna lie, I don't give a shit. Gabe Newell can do whatever he wants. As long as he's alive and happy, Steam stays not dog shit. As soon as he dies, it goes to dog shit. As far as I'm concerned, he gets to ride that off to the sunset. God bless him. Isn't he turning it into like a research vessel? Is he? That's pretty cool. Working with the team at Ocean Co. The yard suggests the yacht's engagement in scientific research and discovery meant there would be innovative technologies. Okay. So he's building like a science platform out there in the ocean. Cool, man. Whatever. He's having fun with it. The City Journal article on Gen Z Republicans, where a bunch of them were like, I'm not saying that I like Hitler, but he did a lot of good stuff. Where do you get your political news from? Spotify podcasts like Tucker Carlson or Rumble with Nick Fuentes. A guy who's been in political radio space for 40 years or so. He's an older dude. I think went to Vandy. Carmichael. I get a lot of my political news from YouTubers. TikTok or conversation with other people. Social media. My favorite influencer is Alex Earl. Alex Clark, Brett Cooper, as well as family members. Alex Clark, Brett Cooper, Mark Driscoll, Tucker Carlson, Ben Shapiro. Mainly YouTube. Donald Trump, Ben Shapiro, also the guy who just got assassinated, Charlie Kirk. I've heard of that guy. They do seem split on whether or not the country is improving. How's the country currently doing and why? Improving. I think there's been a major culture shift. That didn't last very long. Improving. The economy's settling. Changing. Thought about polarizing. Improving partly because of tax incentives. I feel like people have woken up. With Christianity, I feel like it's a big part of people's lives. Wasn't before. It was Charlie Kirk. I feel like when he was killed was when people started to actually wake up. Remember how like 6 months ago, there was a big wave of conservative influencers trying to convince you that Gen Z was getting more religious than ever before? And now the polling's out, and again, Gen Z is less religious than the millennials. Like the trend is continuing. Everyone everywhere is getting less religious. These people's positions are legitimately beneath consideration. What are you supposed to work with on these? Who's heard of Nick Fuentes? Just over half of the participants, 13, put their hands up. Gen Z guys say in polls they go to church a lot, but internal church headcounts show the opposite. That makes sense. Virtue signaling.